Yeah, so the whole, it's all in textiles. There's something about Goodwill. I wanted to say something, but there's more like to kind of. Like, I was looking to see like if they listed the percent, like they get clothing donations. And they list kind of where what they do with it, but they don't give you like a percent. I wanted to show you a video of like Ghana, but it's like 30 minutes. I might end up skipping a little bit, but it's gonna be a lengthy video today. I think it's worth watching it because it's pretty shocking, especially if you look at the Goodwill. And all right, so they kind of make it sound like, oh, this doesn't happen, their stuff. Which I don't, but they do say they sell the stuff to a third party broker, and then somehow it gets to Ghana somehow. So I'm not sure if you could do the like they did electronics and put a tracer on the stuff and see exactly where it goes. That's basically what you need to do somehow with clothing. Anyway, it's difficult to do that. It makes it like a really porous system. Like every time you donate, because these groups like Goodwill are just trying to make money. So the store and the reuse part, they're not like Cincinnati Reuse Recycle Center. Like their focus is not on recycling, right? Their focus is on doing service to help people that are in trouble, right? And any money they can get to do that, I mean, that's good. So they don't care how they get the money. If you give them a car, when they sell the car to anybody that will buy it, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what's going to happen to it when they take the money and try to do something good with it. Right? So it's just like PBS or something would do the same thing. So they don't report like for textiles what percent ends up in Ghana. Yeah. So you never really know. There's no way to trace it. I mean, they don't even bother to try to do it. So maybe like in this first question, if you can't take it seriously, if you could get some hard numbers, which I wasn't able to do, that would be pretty useful. Somehow they get a number that 5% of the donated clothes end up in a landfill. So they do know that. So I'm not sure how they know that number and not the other numbers, because they don't report the other numbers, like how much is actually sold in the stores. There's a thing in England that's similar to that called Oxfam. It's somehow started at Oxford University. They're pretty much like Goodwill, except they're a little bit more international. Like they are Goodwill's helping people in the US, and Oxfam's like international, like starting people somewhere. But they're more or less doing the same thing. Actually, I should have put like compared Goodwill and Oxfam. Oxfam might be a little bit more upfront about what goes on with it. And they also don't do mostly clothing, they do mostly kind of junk stuff. Like, I don't know, you can Christmas shop at Oxfam. They have a lot of trinket things. So they've been around. They've been around maybe longer than Goodwill. But anyway, I want to show you that video about what's happening in Ghana, which is kind of shocking. And it's about fast fashion. The building collapse, kind of like how this works, like what clothing made, and how anyway, one problem, the labeling, like that seems to be a big issue. And this is something I was thinking of. Like I run, and I go through sneakers like 5 months, and they're dead, total more than dead, they have holes in them. And then like just resold those because they cost $150. Like when you set up running shoes, so that they're textile mostly. But anyway, I looked up, can we do that? All right, there's no place to do it in Cincinnati. Right, and if you can't find a place to do it, like the cost is too much. It ends up costing the same as getting, like you can get the last year's model. It's almost the same as reselling whatever you had. So I kind of wanted you guys to look at that problem. I was just interested in running shoes, but maybe you could do something else if you wanted. That seems to be one that I have piles of running shoes at home. Like they can't bear to throw them out, so like brand new except the soles. So it seems to be a problem. I asked the woman from Cincinnati Recycle Reuse cycle center, and she said, no, we don't take money. So anyways, that's what the homework is. Hopefully it's not too hard. So yeah, last time I went through the let's see. This doesn't work. So last time I showed you that, like when we left, it was like I went through that collapse of the building in Bangladesh, like the famous disaster. But if you look at it, yeah, in the homework, like I've been in Ethiopia a lot, so I know that place and the textiles there, but there that's actually the lowest paid in the world for that homework care. I listed wages, you know. So per month, $26. Like basically like $1 a day for textile workers in Ethiopia. Pretty insane. I think for a solar car after your class, I figured out that if you make $2 a day and with the cost of what rice is, like if you had like a quarter cup of rice a day to live on, that's basically what in some beans, that would be your money spent. That's all you could spend on is just food and maybe not even housing. So you're living on the street, making clothes for people in the West, basically. Other places are a little bit marginally more reasonable. Like Lesotho has a pretty big textile business going. It's a small mountainous country in the middle of South Africa, but 170, but still it's like a low end pay. Then Southeast Asia, and then China, people are getting $500 a month. So which works out to like $50 a day or something, I guess. I don't know what does it work out to, $20 a day. 300 would be 10, so it's like $15, $12 a day, I guess. It's still not much, and still it's like the days aren't 3-hour days, 12-hour days. So anyways, it's kind of shocking to see the 26 though, because I've seen those people going to work, they walk miles to get to the factory. So anyway, so yeah, so if the fast fashion's a problem because you're just producing so much clothing, and, synthetic fibers, so those are not like the cotton and the wool, like the most recyclable. These, especially mixed blends of different kinds of plastic, are the least recyclable. So that would be the least. The next least would be polyester nylon. Next least, the best would be like wool, like cotton, which is easier to recycle. Anyway, so everything's set up for linear economy right now. It's just like produce as much as you can, churn it through. It's almost like it's aiming to make as much waste as you possibly could. You know, less than a year life cycle for the clothing. People wear the clothes like 7 times and throw it away, things like that. So it's kind of an insane system right now. And the idea is like you need to transition to some other system that would work. So anyway, so there's different numbers here on how much, again, the numbers about like what gets sent to the developing world is pretty weird. Like you can't find hard numbers. If you go to Goodwill, well, they say like what they do. They they'll collect at the stores and other places. Those go to a warehouse, and they're sorted, and they're sent to retail stores if they're good enough. Otherwise, they end up in a different stream. They go to Goodwill outlet store. So they have outlets where they just have bins. People pick through bins. And then once they get out of the outlet store, Goodwill says that they go to salvage buyers, which they don't exactly explain who they are. Right? But these could be people going to Africa, possibly. There's no real traceable anything in this, except that they say 5% goes to landfill. 95% of what they get is used somehow, quote unquote used, 5% goes to landfill. And Goodwill itself doesn't say that, but there's like these interviews at Goodwill where they've stated kind of generally, but they never say specifically exactly what happens to the Goodwill stuff or any other. And Goodwill is probably the highest caliber of these organizations, right? So if they don't say, basically no one's gonna say, I think. I mean, I think maybe you can look for that question in the homework and see what you can find about it. I couldn't find anything or specific numbers about it. Anyways, this thing is this half-hour video about Ghana. So it's called Dead White Man's Clothes. So I think it's worth listening to. If I get bored, I'll skip through it. So you don't miss the little.
On the coast of West Africa, the
Accra is the capital. Probably does. Okay. So this is Gulf Gang, Nigeria, Cameroon. And so it's like there's kind of rivers that come down to the Gulf of Guinea, and each river has its own culture in West Africa. Like they'll have separate languages, separate traditions, completely different people for each of the rivers that come down into the Gulf of Guinea. So that's why like Togo looks the way it does, because you have like whole culture around just the river basin, pretty much. And then Ivory Coast is the there's a British. So the British in the turn of the 1800s to 1900s decided that they were going to ship the blacks and back to Africa. So they sent them to Ivory Coast. And then the US at the same time in Boston, people decided kind of the same thing. Like this would be a good thing to take all the blacks, and because we had a problem with the Civil War and everything, to ship them back to Africa. So that's Liberia. So this is our, so and the people that came to the US, you know, were from like DRC, kind of like the Congo River people. And they were trapped and then shipped to the US as slaves. They're like captured and then traded. Some of them were traded from like Senegal and things. Basically, there were Congolese people, so they aren't the same people. Like I said, each of these rivers had its own culture, right? So the people that were shipped back, not only were they not even from that region of Africa, and the distance here is like 1,000, 2,000 miles. It's like it's really not anything to do with them except they're all black. It's the only thing they have in common. Language, culture, everything's different. Anyway, so the coastal towns were filled with these colonizing black people from the Western culture. And then the indigenous people were like driven into the swamps, kind of, whatever. It's profitable, right? So the indigenous people moved in. So that's why these countries are like always at war, because there's like two cultures. One is like the US, a British or US culture, and then there's this indigenous culture that's fighting against the colonizers. But they're all black, so we don't tell the difference between them. That's just a funny situation that we more or less created. You know? It's living on until today. And that's why they also have all these crazy, I don't know if you ever listen to Vice News or something, and they go and they interview the people out in the jungle. This is where we're interviewing people, cannibals and everything. This child warfare, whatever. They're nutty because basically they've been driven to it more or less. Anyway, so Accra's right on the coast, has an extra sea I did in Ghana. So Ghana wasn't part of that. Ghana's got gold and it's got some other minerals. So it's kind of a rich country. This is big dam, dammed up the rivers, they have hydropower. So it's well developed. For this region, it's like the top country in terms of money, right? So this is a rich, compared to the other countries, it's rich. To keep that in mind, like the video, you would never be able to tell that exactly. Like you think that this is really richest country.
On the coast of West Africa, the ships arrive day after day with an unrelenting cargo. In Ghana, they call them obroni wawu, or the clothes of dead white men.
Take this beer from Australia.
They're the charity shop cast-offs from the Western world.
That sweat. Yeah, rubbish. It's like a short.
Too many of them arrive in unwearable condition. While the trade in used clothes has created thousands of jobs, it's also turning parts of Ghana into a toxic landfill.
This place is serving as a dumping ground for textile waste in the name of second-hand clothing.
The world's unwanted fashion ends its journey here.
We call them tentacles. When they first wash up on sea, they're very long.
It's creating an
All the stuff in the street, then it's a tropical region, so we get these torrential rains. And all the stuff they throw in the street just goes into the river and winds up to the ocean. And it's 95% of the thing in the ship. So that all goes into the ocean, then it forms these things that show up on the beach.
environmental catastrophe of unthinkable proportions. In Accra, the working day begins long before dawn.
It's like the best time of day there because the air is like clean. And then as the day progresses, there's no pollution control on the cars. And for breakfast, everyone has open fires with charcoal. So that the air pollution is like really out, like peaks out and then like starts to get better after sunset. And basically, the only time you can run
As thousands of Ghanaians make their daily migration into the centre of this West African capital. From Old Fatima, Accra's biggest slum, Aisha Idrisu and her 18-month-old son Sharif join the throng, working in the second-hand clothes trade.
They were enough. Edwuma ne nyɛ yɛn ne dwuma bi a yɛyɛ nsi yɛba abɛhyɛ sɛ ɛbɛnyɛ kakra akɔhyɛ yɛn ba ɛwɔ ho.
If you see that they have shoes, they're doing okay. If they're barefoot, like they're not doing okay. Like we look at the people and say, like, wow, that's pretty shoddy. But basically, if they have shoes, they're doing pretty good. Like they're okay.
Ɛnyɛ ya na nso wɔn sɛ deɛ ɔbɛyɛ ma wɔatena ahyɛ akora no.
Asari Asamoah starts his day early too. He's a successful importer of used clothing.
I was follow my brother whilst we are doing the business, and unfortunately my brother passed away, so he handled everything to me. But I always think about him, because he made me who I am.
Today, new bales arrive.
Guy,
And
he's got a wife. That's Congolese. Well, you know, so he's in Accra, but he's not. I don't think he's from that region. Like his genetics are from another part of Africa, like a coastal.
Asari is checking on his order.
I'm the Indian.
You know, and I be like, yeah, and I'm a film beside, but I'm so about.
Yeah, big bale with quality. I hope you get a good one. These bales are being dispatched to almost every corner of Accra's commercial heart, the sprawling Cantamanto market. It's a bustling labyrinth where almost everything is for sale.
They don't have like malls and things like, so it'll be just independent people coming with their stuff. I mean, some of it is clothing, but everything you want to buy is like at this place. Like if somebody, so in Addis, in Ethiopia, so the guy, like someone took his dashboard from his car, you know? And they leave a note on it, go to Mercado, the stall, like someone might be able to replace the thing that's missing here. And he goes there, like you have to give him that ticket, and then you pay him for your own dashboard. You know, it's like a interesting little.
25.
These markets are one of the biggest in West Africa, if not the world, and they're a central hub for second-hand clothing. From here, they get shipped all over Africa.
For the past 2 decades, the resale of Western cast-offs has boomed here. It's created tens of thousands of jobs. These men and women are retailers eager to seize the best clothes from a prized new bale. They're old friends, but this morning there's lots at stake. So for the next few moments, they're also arch competitors. If they don't grab the best clothes, they don't make money.
They would have sales in clothes, like, I mean, a long time ago, anyway. It would look just like this, you know, it's pretty funny, they take clothes out, it was like a discount outlet kind of thing for buying.
Aisha is on her way to collect a bale of clothes from Asari, the importer.
Okay. And they all follow now they are called shop, right? And it calls right. Right. So we okay, it's a focus here, right?
She's a Kayo, or head porter.
Saa ka no na manye bless. Na mispa. Ile kama yeye na na tista mie. Siste so. Saa ka na mie. Saa kuswa sana manye.
Ghana's Kaye women are usually displaced from their villages in the north of the country by conflict or unemployment.
Ago.
But even in Accra, Aisha is lucky to earn $5 a day.
That is so how we be up.
The bale of clothing she's carrying weighs more than 50 kilograms. It's tough and dangerous work.
No, it's going to be the other leg, not on the corner of us. So, on to me, maybe I put my hand on the Everyone start to play.
The trade in used clothing is also risky for importers. They pay upfront as much as $95,000 for a container, with no guarantee if the clothes inside it are any good.
It's not easy. Sometimes, if you don't have money to do this business, it's not easy for you. Sometimes you go and bought something, then you will not get what you want, then you lose your money.
Asari imports as many as 3 million items of used clothing every year, most of it from the United Kingdom. When he finds Western exporters with good quality clothes, profits are there for the taking.
We're okay. So if you know inside that this goose is fine, that one you are going to buy, then you get your profit. If you don't know that this goose is nice, you just bought anything, then you lose your money.
Asari also sells his newly imported items to other retailers in Cantamanto Market.
It looks like chaos, but there's a method to this madness. These retailers are picking the finest clothes that have come in from the bale in order to be ready for market day.
Asari lives a few hours from the city centre. In a good year, importers can turn over $140,000.
So the money I get, I don't chop off. I just save some. So I just save it.
Asari Asamoah attributes his family's success to divine intervention.
And God has blessed what I'm doing. And God grace living in this house. It's very big conflict between Sunday and my job. The coat I sell, that one is somebody culture. Like a white man used to wear it when going into office. But this one is our own culture.
Today is Sunday, and in this deeply religious country, it's a day for traditional clothing. Western cast-offs are so cheap that local textile makers can't compete. Since the 1980s, their output has fallen by as much as 75%. Traditional African clothing has now become too expensive for everyday wear. Every evening, with the market's customers heading home, a clean-up operation begins. Alleys full of unsaleable clothing are swept up and bundled into sacks, ready for tomorrow's collection. The next morning, the sheer volume of waste is staggering. But before it's even been driven away, Another load of used clothing appears and is put up for sale. Solomon Noy is the city's waste manager.
This place is serving as a dumping ground for textile waste in the name of second-hand clothing. Close to 40% of whatever shipment that are coming on a daily basis ends up to be complete chaff of no value.
Every day, this truck is full to overflowing.
Roughly 6 million garments every week that leave Cantamanto Market as waste. And a huge proportion of all of that clothing is trucked 2 hours north of Accra and ends up being dumped as landfill.
The pressure from the used clothing industry is relentless. The city of Accra now has to find somewhere to dispose of more than 160 tonnes of textile waste every single day.
Black, we don't like it again. In Ghana, we don't like black.
Christiana Manco is a retailer who sells her stock outside the city. Worse and worse condition.
And
I didn't actually watch it.
very bad.
I think at some point they go.
City's
yeah,
biggest slum.
They show the stuff being washed.
All consumers bear some responsibility for this waste crisis. Liz Ricketts lays much of the blame at the door of the world's big fashion houses.
Really, it's brands. It's brands that are overproducing. Waste is a part of the business model of fashion. A lot of brands overproduce by up to 40%.
So when did they start burning this?
At least 3 weeks ago.
Much of the unwanted clothing is simply burned. It's not unusual for Accra's sky to blacken with smoke for days at a time. But for many who live in Old Fatima, including Aisha Idrisu, the flow of second-hand clothing into Ghana has been a lifeline. There are other problems which are simply more pressing. Aisha lives in this small windowless room with 4 other women and all their worldly belongings. So perhaps it's for the West instead to think more carefully about the quality of what we donate.
I'm not sure they've ever been conscious to ask where is the final destination of that thing they are discarding. But if they come here like you've come and see the practicality for yourself, then they will know that no, we better take care of this thing within our country and not to ship the problem to other people's.
5% of the 15% that's reused. So I guess we have like 1 time more, I don't know, some huge amount more than that problem. You can see. Anyway, that was kind of interesting to look at that. Yeah, it's all like in the, let's see, I was going to show something else. That's like Marco, Italian, kind of Italy kind of did something in Ethiopia, so we use Italian words for sometimes. But it's just going to take me anyway. In this part of the city is the same kind of market, except this one's the largest one in Africa. Actually, it's south of that. Anyway, if you go to there's a bigger market than that in Addis has the largest market in Africa, over there market. Little smaller towns you see. So this is a place in the near the north, near Djibouti, like Somaliland here in that Djibouti. That's the Red Sea, and that's Yemen. That's where they're blowing up the ships and things. But you know, Djibouti's Dirdao is near Djibouti, so it gets shipments of clothes in the Red Sea, and then this is like it's a dry place, you know, so like this is one of those markets. This is just, I've been to this place. This is all people just selling clothes, the same kind of thing. So every place in Africa has its clothes markets, you know. This is totally like 4,000 miles from Accra. Like this is here, Accra is like way over here. It's a huge distance away, but the whole continent basically is full of these used clothes. Anyway, so yeah, so we're like how do you trace that even? Like if you look at the Goodwill stuff, you can't even find where it is that they say like the stuff was shipped to Ghana or any place. Like they say salvage buyer, but they don't give the percent that ends up there. And it looks like it's quite a bit. It's a lot more than what you'd be led to believe. Right? So anyway, so So yeah, fast fashion is kind of the source of that, I guess, partly the source of that, and, see, it's not. Anyway, I talked already about different companies that are doing that. And then 8 to 10% of carbon emissions are coming from this fast fashion thing. And then because of that, people are protesting Berlin. Like the protesters against fast fashion, you know, it's kind of funny to see, but you haven't seen that in the US. I don't think, but there's groups in the US, but it's not like a mass movement. So these are the things people are talking about is a solution to this, so figuring out how to produce clothing that's more reusable and recyclable. Like if you reduce the number of seams, I guess you can go more larger pieces of cloth out of a single. If you disassemble clothing, like design for disassembly is one thing. Like the seams on the clothing can make it so that you disassemble and use the cloth for something else. Right? So somehow also reducing the amount in the production of clothing, like zero waste, which means basically better layouts of how you cut a square piece of cloth and build legs and things. And then design so that the clothing can be disassembled. It's the same thing as kind of the car industry. How do you make a car to be disassembled into component parts, pure component parts? And then I don't know, there's a lot of different movements to try to solve the problem. There are some ideas. And then there's like extended producer responsibility, which all of that, a lot of these things are going to involve like tagging, like how to label the clothes so you can tell who made it. Also label the clothes so that you can tell the fabric, how pure the fibers are. Like if it's a blend of fibers, it can't be recycled, but if it's only 5% blend of something and then polyester, then basically that could be recycled. So it matters like the percentages too, of the mixtures of plastics that are used in the fibers. So there's no infrastructure except these like non-government organizations like these textiles, and they're probably doing as good as they can, but their motivation isn't to collect and recycle. Their motivation is really to make money for whatever else they're doing, with the exception of like Cincinnati cycles and things like that. The sorting and grading is like a key issue. Like so the labels get detached from the clothes. There's no like automated labeling, computer readable labels on it that could just be quickly scanned so you can tell what the material is. Like technology with label clothing, it's like a big challenge. Sorting out how to do that would go a long way into making things more recyclable. There's no commercial scale recycling going on with a few exceptions, right? All the additives are a problem, the dyes, finishes. A lot of them are like PFAS or things like that, and the waterproof agents. So there's no economy for it. Like, no, there's nothing going to drive people to do this as a business concept, right? Except for guilt of people that buy clothes and fall out, and then the government legislation, which probably won't happen in the US. And there's no significant reuse repair textile market, right? So basically, there's a lot of mileage to cover, like in this area. It's a huge problem that people don't even know exists for the most part. Anyway, so there's a lot of ideas on how to address it. So yeah, so it's kind of a list of things that can be done, like rubber band machines, maybe So this is kind of interesting, like the microplastics, the wash water when you wash your clothes has microplastics in it. but almost all of it comes initial when you first buy the clothes and washing clothes. So after you're through the first 3 times you wash the clothes, there's not many microplastics still being released to the environment. So basically, to reduce microplastics from fibers, which is 30% of microplastics, you would want to like wear your clothes longer, like more than 3 washings, or buy secondhand clothes. If you can do that. The sorting, the idea of labels and sorting is like a big issue too. So somehow coupling modern labeling that could be used to sort typical textiles. Anyway, the sneaker thing. Yeah. All right, so there's this other idea, like instead of, well, part of this is that you can take PET bottles and then make it into fabric to make clothing. So it's kind of a recycling. So this is one of these recycling, maybe open loop recycling, where you use a product, make something different with it. Or could be almost upcycling of a bottle to clothing, right? So this, anyway, it's hard to tell exactly which label this would be, but this company's doing this to get bottles, take like this well, whatever this company is site, like this is something Cooper makes processing equipment to take bottles, like the fibers, and there's fiber spin off this end, this kind of bottles going on the front end, PET product. There's kind of a video there. Not that company, but another company that's doing this kind of stuff. Like, well, that's pretty.
Nadu. Here's how PET bottles are converted into fiber.
Something that I did. Anyway, it just shows a factory where they're taking bottles and making it into fibers. Pretty weird that they're doing. Anyway, so there's a factory. If you click that on watch it about how they do the bottle recycling and they spin the fibers from it. So it's a complex group of people that are involved with this textile recycling. These Goodwill, then whoever they sell it to, after it goes, they sort, and then they go to their stores, and after the stores, they go to their outlets, and after the outlets, they sell both bales of clothing to stores and graders. So and then basically those are going to be shipped overseas to Ghana, other places, and then so there's companies that are doing sorting technology. So there's a whole stream of people that are interested in recycling textiles. Somehow, like getting all those industries together is kind of the idea of how you could solve this problem, right? I mean, this municipal waste collectors, textile experts, industrial, whatever. So basically, there's a huge, I mean, manufacturers, extended manufacturer responsibility, and then the whole line of people that are involved in handling all the textiles. Right? So somehow bringing that together could solve the problem. There's a bunch of things that are misleading, like whether you can label something biodegradable, but it's not actually biodegradable. Well, I'll talk about that with bioplastics. Anyway, so why don't we quit early today, I guess. Just I can just come back to some of these things on Thursday. And maybe I think the next thing to talk about maybe use bioplastics, I guess, that might be the most simplest thing to talk about. PLA and PHP. And then maybe microplastics after that. Anyway, yeah, why don't we put it there? Just basically, I just want to show that they will come down. Yeah. I think it's kind of interesting to see. There was a movie, like I said, like in maybe 2000 or something, there was a movie that you can't get now. That was almost the same thing. Just like that problem's been around for like 50 years. But nobody really knows it, even though there was a movie, like a full-length movie made of that problem. It was like the shirt, something about the shirt, something. They're wearing your shirt or whatever. Oh, someone's in Africa and they see a shirt, it's from their town. It's like the shirt they don't. There's a movie kind of about that. But anyway, so the problem hasn't gone away. You know, if anything is getting worse. It's funny to see how nothing has been done about it. Anyway, yeah, why don't we quit there for today?